so we'll get started because I don't want to waste any more time and lose any more gameplay. I know we didn't get to play last week. Sorry about that. But we're here today. So that works. And so let's recap what has happened so far to the group. Actually, no, I'm doing this wrong. Let's do our introductions first. Them old school.
Yes, AGTX.
Yeah, them old school gamers. Welcome, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome.
What up?
Yeah.
What up?
How's it going, Gamer
How's it
Nation?
going in Glorious Nation?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's it. That's the intro right there.
I was being a cocksucker.
You've done screwed the hooch.
I like it. I like it. What's up, Inglorious Nation?
What's up, Inglorious Nation?
What's up, you Inglorious fans, you? Welcome to another adventure in Loxos. Yeah, with them old school gamers. Starting at the top, we have... You ready for this? We got AGTX The Dragons. And he will be playing Yukhnevich, the Slayer / Dragon Shaman. And he is the resident tank and, yeah, the tough guy of the group. The residential, chaotic neutral character. I don't even know if you're chaotic. I haven't looked at anybody's alignments in so long. I haven't kept up with that at all.
Okay, it's still chaotic neutral.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I made you guys change your alignments like one time, just because like everybody was kind of flipping real hard, and so I was like,
stick with our alignments at this point. We've kind of worked ourselves into our grooves, I think.
Yeah, yes, you have chosen your path. And underneath him, we have Kassid69. Say hello, Kassid.
Ayo.
Ayo. High five. She will be playing Agaragus, the Myconid Pion Mendar, the mercy of the group. The heroes never die.
The man of the group.
I said
the
main character.
Whoa. Easy there before you get pineappled on the
Whoa.
I need you to simmer. Yeah, you're gonna need to simmer the fuck down.
You're already raising the cockles of Yukhnevich. Already, Yukhneville's cockles is good. I was just gonna say heroes never die, except when they do. That's what it is.
Except for when they do.
Except for when they do.
This ain't no place, bro.
Underneath Kassid, we have IcyHot_2305. Say hello, Icy. Or don't.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Como este.
Como este.
How are they?
For our bilingual audience out there. All two of them. Yes, Icy will be playing Zoltan Heisenberg, the Deep Druid.
Rohan Blanco.
No mama's way.
Zoltan Heisenberg, the Deep Druid, who is not your grandpa's druid. No. He's not the druid you grew up with. No, sir. He's not running through forests and picking flowers today. No, sir. He's diving in caves and shapeshifting into bats. That's his thing.
Taking fat scats.
Yes. Why not? Guano.
Yeah, yes.
Guano. Collect the whole set. Underneath that, we have Ness, who was playing Android for Razorn, the paladin / bard saint of Corlon the Rethian, the self-proclaimed main character and chosen one. He's the face of the group and the self-proclaimed main character. Is that about covers it, huh? That about nails that one, right? Yep, he's the main.
That's about it. That's about it. You got it.
Except when he's not. Until he gets
Except
hit.
for when I'm getting shot off pillars.
Yeah, then it's
like, oh God, Corlon the Rethian!
Yeah.
You Quill, why isn't that thing dead?
I need you to pull out some main character juice. Underneath Ness, we have Unit 620. How's it going, Unit? How you doing? How's life?
Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
Nice.
He will be playing Elsa Blackwell, the 12-year-old girl raised by wargs. She is the group's very own cryptid. She is the warg goddess. There is more legend written about her than anybody else in the group.
And Paris Hilton.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Paris Hilton. Like, that threw me off the plate. I'm laughing, then I'm like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, sure. There's more legend written about her than Paris Hilton. I agree with that. Yes. Actually, I agree with that. Although, if you stay in a Hilton, book adjoining rooms. That way you have an extra big closet. Or if you just have a family. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways. And I'm your humble DM, Pog. And that's about it. That's our introductions right there. To coin the phrase, Shadow Council, may our labors please you. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Oh.
So, let us begin our recap. Since we didn't get to play last week, let's recap it so y'all are caught up. Because I know a lot can happen in 2 weeks. So, last session, you guys met the actual Dragoon now, who are really just Dragonborn, but they go by the nomenclature Dragoon. It sets them apart, and they're slightly different than actual Dragonborn as well. You know, the Dragonborn that you guys have met in the Beastlands, which is their home realm, they're heavier, maybe, dare I say, like mightier looking, you know, brawnier. They worship their individual chromatic colors. You know, you got your red, black, white, green, blue, you know. They're what you would think of Dragonborn. The Dragoon, however, are slimmer, not as heavy set looking, and they seem to worship, or at least they seem to belong to, or spawn from, a different kind of dragon that none of you have heard of before. You guys have a very rudimentary knowledge of dragons. You know of the chromatic dragons, and you know that once upon a time they roamed the lands pretty regularly, and then something happened and they were just gone. And there's no explanation as to why. It's one of those things that it's another one of those things of history that has been lost in the canals of time, and during the Dark Age periods. So to meet these dragoons who seem to spawn from a dragon kind that you guys have never seen before, or even heard of. And the fact that they say in their lands that there is actual dragons. They claim that they have dragons here. You guys have yet to see them, but they claim that they actually exist in their lands. You all met, and I can never remember his name. I want to say his name is Lao D.
Lao D.
Yeah, Lao D. You guys met Lao D, and you also met, and you Quill, you met the wise woman of the village. What was her name though? I'm getting there. I swear, I'm getting there. Yes, Nani. And yeah, so you met Nani, Lao Di. You were escorted by Fan Dong. Because we were talking about that today, actually. About she was the one that you guys thought would be more honored, but yet she was made to pull your carriage. And yeah, just basically, you Quill, you seem to have sparked interest in the Dragoon. Yeah. You know, and really, there is two different kinds of Dragoon. There is the actual Dragoon who have wings, and then there are the Dragon Kin, as they call themselves, who are wingless. And the Dragoons seem to be honored more than the Dragon Kin, or the Dragon Kin seem to honor the Dragoon because they closely resemble actual dragons more so than they do, I guess you could say. And you sparked interest in them, and when you were speaking with Nani, she kind of used some kind of divination to determine who you are and like where you're from and why you are of such interest. And she was able to determine that, well, basically what you already kind of know, and that is that you're the totem of Fenrir, the red dragon. The spirit of Fenrir lives inside of you. But she was also able to determine things that you didn't even realize. And so you were sent to speak with the shaman of their people. Basically, like it's a high honor to speak with the shaman. Basically. Meanwhile, everybody else is just kind of studying the situation and what is going on with them. More so than you could say that Android is really trying to learn the culture and the language. You could say that Agaragus is kind of... you know what? Agaragus is a mystery. You never really know what Agaragus is thinking, because Agaragus doesn't have a lot to say at all times. You know? So, yeah. Zoltan has been exhausted for like days now. It worked him over doing as much magic as he's had to do in the crazy ways he's had to do it. He's been trying to rest, and it seems like every time you guys get a moment to rest, something comes along and ruins that for you. Elsa seemed to oddly enough, Elsa seemed to bond with Lao D, even curtsying for him at one point, remembering the lessons that Sebastian had taught her about how to regard people when you're supposed to when you're trying to be in polite society, and she actually remembered it and curtsied for him, which was well done. You found that Lao D actually has a soft spot for Elsa just because he himself is a father. So, you guys ended up going to meet the shaman. Mazuru is her name. And that's pretty much where we left off. She tried to make a deal with you all. Basically, she wanted Uquill's time, is what she said. I would like an audience with Uquill, and in exchange, I'll give an audience with everybody else. Whatever that's supposed to mean, you know? And I believe, if I remember correctly, we didn't end it just there. I think we agree. I think at the end of that session, Uquill at least agreed that he would give an audience. And I think everybody else kind of said, yeah, sure. Why not? Well, don't really know what that means, but we'll give it a shot, right? And see what happens. And so that's where we're picking up tonight's session, is you guys are in the city of Sa-Man-Miao, and you are in the temple of Ma-Zu-Ru, and she's, you know, asking for an audience with Uquill. And that's where we're beginning. So, is there any questions? Did I leave anything out that you guys can think of? Or was there any because I know that, you know, yeah, we didn't get to play last week, so any blank spaces in your memory, or is that pretty good? Are we good there?
I think that covered it.
Anyone else?
Oh, I do got news for you.
What's that?
So I can see all this stuff, alright? Like, I can see all my things, but I can't move. I figured out how to get it to semi-work on my phone.
Oh, on Roll20?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine. If you can see all the stuff, but you just can't get it to move, we can move it for you. So that'll be all right. As long as you can see it, that works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you roll?
I'm pretty sure I can roll.
That'd be cool if you could roll, man. It'd be cool if you could. All right. But with that said, nobody else has any questions? Because once we get started, you can't... No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think that covered
Yeah,
it.
off the top of my head, no, but I mean that could be like 30 minutes away, and I'm like, what'd you say?
Yeah. Oh, wait. There is something I thought of. Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we begin tonight's adventure in Loxos, in the temple of Ma-Zu-Ru, as you all are standing there in front of her. Uquill, you have been beckoned up, and she was speaking with you. And so we will pick up with it again. We will have her ask you one more time if you are willing to give her an audience. And that's pretty much what she says. She just looks at you and she says, I want to be clear about this. I am asking for your time, an audience with you, so that I might divine some of these mysteries about you and maybe give you answers as well. If you are willing, then I will in turn give my time to your party.
It leaves me with very little choice. Like if I want answers, you know.
So are you saying that to me or to her?
Well, it's more of it to you, but yeah. Like that's kind of like a loaded gig there.
She says, I assure you I mean you no harm. No one here means you harm.
Harm's not the word.
And then she kind of mumbles under her breath, arrogance. Interesting.
Has no idea.
She says, so shall I have that your attention then?
Sure.
And with that, she stands up and you watch as her wings unfold and she kind of stretches for a minute. you get the idea from her stretching that she doesn't actually get up from this spot very often, you know? Like, most of her time is just spent upon these pillows, possibly like meditating on the mysteries of the universe or whatever it is that she does, you know? She says, follow me, and your friends can wait here while we go and we talk.
I'll be back, lads.
Salutations. Or whatever.
All right, so for the purposes of this, because some things that could be said here may or may not, you know, be private to each individual character, we are going to switch over to the side narratives, and yeah.
And the rest of us will just watch the episode later.
Exactly.
I mean, I can't stop you from doing that. I can't, but
Let him know how it really is out here in the streets.
yeah. Well, I knew that there was a chance of that anyways when I first, but I was like, well,
No,
but it has to happen, you know?
I mean, he is the one that constantly posts it and got every Discord we fucking have.
Yeah,
Likes to plug
do.
himself.
I do.
And I mean that in the most gay way possible.
I don't know what that means, but let's go. All right. So, you follow her to a room, and inside this room you see that she's got an actual like diorama. This room is like a circular room, and it's very ornately decorated in the style of the land that you're in, you know. The tapestries with the gold writing and the calligraphy, and there's incense burning from golden pots that have images of dragons carved into them and the things and the like. And she sits down on the ground and motions for you to sit down in front of her. Above her head, there is a diorama that looks like it's made out of like banded steel or gold even, and glass globes of some sort. In the center of this diorama, it's like a mixture of circles that are like a swirl, like a spiral, ever so expanding out from the center of, and that's the shape of the banded metal. And in the center of that, you see that there's one globe that looks like it's blown glass that is like bright yellow. And then around it, there are several other globes that are ever so often plucked within the bands of metal. And the diorama spins, and everything rotates around this center globe. And you watch. As you look up, you can see that she's got certain places marked within the actual ceiling. And the ceiling looks like it's painted like the night sky, complete with stars and everything. But there are points of interest that you notice, and one of them looks to be like a constellation of something or other. And for your sake, I will let you try and roll a knowledge of history, if you so wish. To see, well, yeah, we'll do a knowledge of history to see if you have any kind of like rudimentary knowledge of stars or constellations, like any kind of, if you so wish. Oh, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, actually. So, you, with a 21, you get to, looking at that, and you recognize other constellations around it, right? There are constellations. Having been a man that served in the military and stuff, there were times where the only guide you had was the night sky, knowing such things like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and how to determine, which direction you're going and things like that. So there are constellations that you recognize, and that's what's funny about this one constellation, is that you don't recognize it. You have no real knowledge of this constellation because there's been nobody in your life culturally to teach you this constellation. But what's even weirder is that as you search your mind to remember it, you seem to think that every time you ever looked in that direction, it almost seemed like that was blackened out of the sky. Almost like no stars could exist in this one patch of sky, and yet there's a constellation here written up on her ceiling as if to represent that blank patch. So as you're looking at that, she motions for you to sit down, and once you are settled in, she looks you over for a minute. She says, "What is it that you desire?" I know that there is probably a better way of questioning such things, but I feel like time is short for us. And you'll forgive me, but it's not necessarily you that I'm asking. And when she says that to you, you feel the presence of the dragon stir within you. Strangely enough, like it, for a long time here, it's almost felt like you and the dragon were one, and your wants were its wants and such. But it's a feeling that you haven't felt in a long time. Actually feeling the presence of it kind of shift within your actual being. It's almost like the way she's talking to you is in an attempt to awaken something in you. So she tells you, it's not so much you that I'm speaking with when I ask this, but I need to know, what is it that you desire?
I mean, he would, I think, still, like, that would still kind of align with, no matter what the overall consensus of what is desired. Knowledge of power. Regardless.
So as you explain this to her, she smiles and she says, "So your body and spirit are one then?" She says, "That is good." She says, "For out of all his brothers, Fenrir was the one that desired power most, and maybe that's why he saw that in you." She says, I'm going to be honest with you when I say this. We have been looking for you for quite some time because we knew that a totem had been chosen. We are not like the rest of the peoples and cultures of these lands. We actually have abilities and capabilities of getting around and finding things out. She says, once we knew that the totem had been chosen, alas, we were too late to actually find you then. But oddly enough, you've been brought to us now. She says, now that I know your mind and body, your spirit and body are one, what about your mind? What does your mind desire? Does your mind and your coincide with both the body and the spirit? Do you truly want to know what the secret to power is? Or is there more to it than that? And if so, why do you need to know this?
Yeah, because that kind of facilitates all the other quote unquote lesser desires. That makes sense.
She said it would if I knew what these lesser desires were.
Short story, The Righting of Wrongs.
The
Notes version.
so it is a nobler. It is a nobler pursuit that you have. I see then.
Relatively.
Says, well, then you must have questions for me. She says, but, and then she stops you right there and she says, before you ask, I do not have the answer to the secret. She says, it is impossible for one who does not seek power to know how to answer its mystery. She says, but you must have other questions. Certainly.
You want me to fucking RP my ass off when my brain's half on? I can't even remember if I ate fucking lunch. You remember shit from fucking months ago? I hate you. I need a coke hit right about now. Spin back up.
We here at Adventures in Loxos do not condone.
I need to phone a friend or some shit.
Phone a friend.
Fuck, dude. Like, yes, but I can't remember none of them. No, part of him wants to know if they know anything about the. He has the fucking book he has. What's it called?
The Pantheon.
There you go. He's noticed the correlation of like learning some things through general knowledge. I'm trying to find questions that I help with that, but just his constant whatever. He also knows like the gods aren't quite what they were. Maybe she knows why. So something along those lines, like you know what's up with this whole gods not being god things recently.
She says, interesting.
Yeah.
She says,
He's
well,
like part of that goes into it.
She says, well, I myself know quite a bit about the Pantheon, actually. It's interesting that you should have a copy of it. And she reaches into, like, what seems like robes that he didn't, like just... She's wearing very little to begin with, but she's actually got some clothing.
Where'd you hide that at?
And she pulls out...
She's like the typical anime female protagonist that pulls out the long sword out of fucking nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
It's like, you don't even have a scabbard. Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like it's just almost manifests itself out of like an unending pocket or something. And she's got
like I almost picture like she's got like, not like, just for reference, like a bikini-esque top, but it's, more flattering.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the old like tribal leggings, but basically has a thong underneath it. You got the front flap and the back flap, and she pulls out this big book, reaches behind her like it was just stashed away in her fucking thong.
Yeah, well,
it's like, wait a minute.
It's almost like a half robe what she's wearing, like just a skirt to cover like her bottom womanhood, but like the top she leaves completely bare because like the way that they're made anyways, they don't necessarily it looks almost like a Barbie doll in that sense. It's not necessarily
She's got lumps, but they're not lumps.
She doesn't have nipples basically, but she's got the chest, And
she ain't got no nipples.
Yeah, so like, but like the lower half of her, I guess you could say, is detailed as you would expect it to be. So like, so the women technically tend to keep that covered up more so than the top, because the top is, but yeah, so like reaching into like her robes, her bottom robes, yes, she just pulls out a copy of the Pantheon herself, and she's like, I myself have a copy of this. She says, now, what riddles me is you're asking questions about it, and I'm just curious as to, don't misunderstand this, but are you not capable of reading? I know that there are some people in this world who were never taught the written word. Is that...
I can read. It's just one day it has pages, next day it doesn't. One day it didn't have pages, and then it's like a page appeared, and it's like stuff happened, and then look, another page appeared. Not all there. It's like it completes itself in the most random of times. That makes sense?
She takes her fingernail and kind of taps her teeth with it, just for some weird reason. She's just, tick, 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 and she goes, I had heard that it was capable of doing that, hiding its truth from others as it saw, and only revealing what it felt that the individual, should need to know. She said, I myself have not had this problem. She says, the moment I set my hands upon it, it showed me everything.
Fucker.
She says, that is very interesting that you, I wonder why. And now she's got questions. She's like, I wonder why. She's like, it is a very...
For Rizzo, my nizzle.
Well, it's a very dangerous book in that sense, because it is truth. But what you need to understand is, it doesn't tell you everything. It basically is only going to tell you key moments of history. The most important things up to a certain point, and then it has fallen silent. But it's the intricacies that take place amongst all of that. She says, the idea that, Tiamat destroyed Bahamut is believed by quite a few different races. While the truth of the matter is that all she did was transform him and make him something greater, as it is shown in the Pantheon. And he banished her back to the Nine Hells. She's like, there is quite a few races that are cousins of ours that exist in this world that remember their heritage to a point. And as she says that, you think, you remember the Mechaluchkans, the kobolds, and how that was one of their beliefs, that Tiamat actually defeated Bahamut, whilst actually Bahamut won that fight,
Yeah.
And she's saying this to you, and as she's saying this to you, it's reaffirming what she had said earlier about the fact that the Dragoon are actually capable of gathering information from all corners of the world, that they're not as ignorant to the comings and goings of other places as, say, a lot of places are, She says, so that is interesting. What is it in the Pantheon that you want to know? What you really want to know?
Fuck. God damn you. So he doesn't know of the meeting, but he is getting clues because the sword did some shit. So he at least kind of put those two together, and again, it's like, while the gods have left, and he's like, wow, all of a sudden I'm basically bestowing a sword of a person that no longer seems to be around. Hashtag doesn't make sense.
She says, interesting. May I see the sword? I did not. She's like, she begins to say something. She's like, I did not. And then she kind of stops for a minute and has to ponder it herself. And so she just changes the trajectory of what she was going to say and just says, may I see this sword?
Sure. Guess he shows her the sword.
So as you unsheath it, she holds out her hands for you to place it within him, And she takes it and begins to look at it, and she says, how did I not sense this when you entered? She's like, we sensed even our forefathers, our ancients sensed you, but they did not sense this. And as she holds it, she just peers deeper into the sword for a minute. She says, well, what you have here, if you really want to know, is you have the essence of a god inside this sword. Or one who calls himself a god.
Equal catches that reference. Didn't he one time have God damn it, I hate you. Like there's bits and pieces, but I can't access them. I hate it. I'm getting a headache trying to remember all this.
Are you trying to think about Eros? Is that what it is? Like the
No, like he when she said that, because that's not the first time he's heard somebody talk about somebody being seen as a god, even though technically they're in the pantheon. Technically, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
That's why I said he catches that reference. Because who was it he was talking to about like the gods not being gods until they were gods?
Saint Cuthbert.
Yeah, I'm telling bro, I've got like little bits and pieces.
Yeah, it was Saint Cuthbert.
I'm like you Quill right now, motherfucker. Like, there's something there, but I can't grasp it.
Yeah. She looks at you for a minute and she goes, so you are curious about the gods and their actual origin.
Well, it's like sort of a maybe possible.
She says,
Hashtag question mark. And then they're not around, it seems, because he's like, we had this one guy, and he kind of goes on this little rambling about, you know what I mean? He's like, I had this one guy, and he was talking about it, but then, his powers kind of waned because, they seemed like they didn't answer. Like, all the clerks that I know seemed to like, and he's like, and that one guy hasn't come for me in a while either. Now that I think about it. He's like, but that's not human, right? And he's like, and then the bird, I think the bird said something about it. And he stops and ponders for a minute. Did the bird say something? I can't remember. The bird's crazy. He talks a lot. And then I have this fucking other thing that talks a lot. And it's like, oh god, they just never shut the fuck up. Anyways. But yeah, I got this fucking sword. And then it used to say some shit like it was basically its own thing, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, voila, it's got, fucking.
She says, yes, well, what you have is a fractured sword here. It once did, and still does, house we here in these lands, there's a legend that a man who wields a weapon strongly eventually becomes his weapon. And that is, in essence, what this sword once was whoever once wielded it, they were a very powerful warlord indeed. And he became his weapon even after his physical body died, his spirit lived on inside the sword. When the god that she spoke with placed a piece of himself in this sword, he, and she thinks about it for a minute, inhabited the body of this warlord and purified him and made him something new, just like the sword. And now the sword is trying to guide you on a path of... And then she like thinks about it for a minute and she says, no. Jet, no. And then like it almost like the word just, you see the word just suddenly hit her mind, because her eyes kind of open like widely, and she says, retribution. This is a sword of retribution that has been given you.
He's like, that's that one buddy. He always talked about that. Like he had other dealings with him outside of that secret meeting that Yuko doesn't remember.
So she kind of...
It was Heronius and him, right? Both?
Yeah.
That we had the most dealings with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heronius hired me, but St. Cuthbert was always the one that like came around and fucked with us.
Yeah, exactly.
No, think about it. Like, I think he summoned us more than anybody else. That twat bag.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like she sits there for a minute and she says retribution, and she opens up her pantheon and she starts flipping through it, and some of it you catch and some of it you just can't understand, you know? But she flips through it and then she makes it to a page that has been revealed to you, and she says, this man, and she shows you the story of St. Cuthbert, you know? The one of the human who defeated the Titans and literally drove them back and then died. She says, him. St. Cuthbert, correct?
Yeah.
Says, yes. She says, and so you've learned nothing more about the dragons or the gods that is contained within this book. It has not explained itself to you.
He's like, to be honest with you, I haven't looked at it in a while.
She says, because the history of my people, and then she like looks at you and goes, of our people now, is within this book.
He's like, of it maybe? He's like, he busts his out real quick. Give me a second. No, that's in here. Oh, there's too much shit. There's some Demon Gordon, there's some there. Yeah, there's more. Okay, where goes it? Okay, there's that one. There's the Demon Gorgon one. That's what it is.
She just
Faster.
She just watches you with interest as you like start flipping through the book to see
God.
Yeah.
Or that's what day is. I've seen it. I've seen stuff about it. Where they come from. Oh, fast backwards because I'm scrolling up. There's some of it. Speed reading. Lots of Toad shit. Vecna shit, okay. Yeah, he's like, right here is, it looks like mine's about, most I know of birth of Bahamut and the Platinum God.
Says, yes, Bahamut. He is not of our kind. She says he's something more. Out of the gods that we have mentioned, he probably is the truest, purest form of a god that we could discuss, more so than Tiamat, more so than my goddess Tachesis, even. She says, I imagine when the time is right, the book is going to reveal this to you. The truth of our people. It is a sort of shame that we have not been able to live down. And perhaps it will even reveal more to you now. Now that you're
Are
showing.
you talking about the thing that happened where he's like, where the that little motherfucker was he down on the truth? He starts talking to himself about like the discussion him and Rev. I give up. Quit.
Yeah.
I'm throwing in the towel.
I don't know who it is you're talking about either.
Yucca.
Oh yeah,
Yucca.
Yucca. Yeah.
Like how he was talking about like how the whole thing and they were all whatchamacallit cursed or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, she says in a way, yes. We are cursed. Us not so much. Because we're not like our chromatic brothers. Although chromatic is sort of a bastardized term. We're all dragons, right? It's just that my forefathers, my ancient forefathers, aren't like them. If you had to put them into a category, you would have the chromatic dragons, much like your Fenrir, or Surtur, or Nidhogg, even Jormungand. Those would be the chromatic dragons. My forefathers are more, I guess, what you could call. And she like searches for a word for it because until now she's never even tried to like group them into anything, you know. It's like
yeah.
these are dragons of power, I guess, more than color. We don't base them upon the color of their scales, since as you've noticed, I am blue and white, for that matter.
Yeah.
More crystalline, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you've noticed that about our kind.
Yeah.
It's because they are power dragons, I guess you could say. My forefather, and she thinks about it, and she says, the one I spawned from, you could say is... And she thinks about it for a moment, almost as if she's debating on whether or not she should even, like maybe she's saying too much. She's like, well, I suppose you have to know eventually. You know, it won't do you any good to keep it from you at this point, but when we were cast down, when the chromatic dragons betrayed the world, my fathers chose to stand outside of it. They didn't involve themselves in the same way that the chromatic dragons did. And that's why we still thrive. That's why every once in a while we get what we call the dragoon. We still get dragonkin who are capable of growing wings even.
Yeah.
And most of that comes from I guess you would call him a god, Cass, he saw it fit to protect my kind when the punishments was being dealt out. But the punishment was never meant to be dealt out to us. It was because of Tiamat and her jealousy that we suffered the loss that we suffered. My forebearers are... You have my father, who is Chronipsis, and he is a... basically, that you would call him a crystalline dragon. And then there is Valazur, who is the shadow dragon. Garrix, who is a force dragon. And Lo, who is a wind dragon. So we don't base ourselves upon our chromatic colors, we base ourselves upon our power. And that is why they are power dragons and not chromatic dragons. Granted, the chromatic dragons still have elemental abilities with their breath weapons, but it's like Chronipsis with his crystalline ability. It's not so much a breath weapon as much as it's just his right, if that makes any sense. And I don't really know how else to explain that to you. They have summoned you though, and so you will meet them. For they still exist. My fathers exist still. They're not like Fenrir, who has had to escape his damnation. But it's a difference in mothers. Takhisis is our mother, while Tiamat was their mother. And when Tiamat lost everything, she took it out on Takhisis and tried to eliminate her offspring, just like hers had been eliminated. But again, Cass stepped in. The only loss we really felt, excuse me, the only loss we really felt that day was the fact that we did lose the ability to breed more actual dragons. And our mother was tossed into the sky, and she shows you the constellation. She says, and there she sits waiting in a prison to be set free. And I suppose, you, Quill, that is what makes you so special to us, because you are capable of doing things that we aren't. You have a piece of our kind living within you, but you're also quite mortal and capable of entering a realm that no dragon or dragon kind can enter. No ancient, as it were, can enter. That is the curse. When Tiamat threw Takhisis into the sky and turned her into a constellation, the curse was that sent her into this realm, no ancient will be able to enter and set her free. But it can only take one of our kind to find her. So while your spirit may be able to locate her, your body will be able to set her free. And she is... we have been waiting a long time for this. A long time. For our goddess, our mother, needs her companion. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, if as it were. We've been quietly trying to fashion ourselves the perfect companion for our goddess, someone to set her free. Now, whilst it's not my place to tell you what happened to our kind, ultimately, what that betrayal was, or I feel if the Pantheon wanted you to know that, it would tell you. And while I can't tell you wholeheartedly about the gods, I can tell you this. The land you came from was the only land where the gods took a direct hand in the people's lives. So that loss that your people are feeling now, the rest of us have always experienced. So it's not strange for us. No other land you're going to go to are the people going to say, oh, well, I was just speaking with this god the other day. The rest of the world, the gods that they worship, don't hold audience very regularly. So it is quite strange to me that suddenly the gods are taking less of an interest. And as you say, they seem to have lesser power than once they did, then it seems that something greater is at work here. And if this St. Cuthbert has chosen you, then perhaps he himself is fulfilling a prophecy as well through you.
Okay.
Which is interesting how it all would intersect in such a way. Says, tonight, once I'm done speaking with the rest of your party, I will take you to our capital city, and you will meet our shogun, and then you will meet, I guess, in all honesty, you will meet your brothers.
Fair enough, I guess.
Or, she says, because you may not look it, but you are closer to a dragon than the rest of us, and you don't know it yet. What you have going on there has not manifested itself to the fullest. It's just my ardent wish that when the time comes, you think about the decision you will have to make.
What? Run that back?
She says, I think you'll be fine. She says, I think you'll be alright. She says, you're rough around the edges, but at the end of the day, I think you have a good heart. I just don't think you let others know that as much. She says, I see it. The land you come from, it's not like the others, is it?
Not really.
She looks at you for a minute and kind of studies you, and she says, you come from the northern regions, don't you?
Is it northern?
You know, it's north, like northwest, but
North,
it's like
north,
north,
northish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says, yes, we've had people go there before. We of the Dragonkin have taken extreme interest in the comings and goings of other lands. And we've sent people to those lands before. Though I admit I don't really know their names or their language, but that is a very dark place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a fun place to be. Like, hence why most of my searches for power, and he kind of snickers. He's like, yeah, a little retribution.
She says, you look to set your people free.
My eyes have been open to a wider world, but yes, to a degree.
She says, that's exactly what I require. I want us to be free again, too. She says, she turns and she pulls out a medallion, right? And it looks kind of like a medallion, but it's more like a like what you would call like a branding iron type thing, you know? It's got like a symbol on it, but it looks like it's been fashioned onto the iron itself. Like it maybe at one point in time might have been a medallion, but now has been fashioned to be a branding iron, you know?
Uh-huh.
And she begins to heat it while looking at you.
That's never good.
And she doesn't say anything at all either. Like she's like watching you watch her heat this thing, and she does one of those like smiles at you, like, you all right? You all right? And kind of nods, like, yeah, look, this is okay. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you quills over there giving her like the goddamn people's eyebrow right now, like.
And then when she's done, she says, as she's heating it, once it gets good and hot, you can tell that it's good and hot. She says, this is the symbol of our people. She says, only I, the shaman, are allowed to give it to anybody else. She says, if you willingly take this symbol, on that day when you go to bring your retribution and free your people and free my people, you will be able to call upon all the armies of the Dragoon at your service, and not even the Shogun will be able to stop you. And my forefathers, the Dragons of Power, will honor it, for this is my right. She says, but I promise you this right now, this will not be comfortable. She says, hold out your hand if you accept. Palm down. In other words, like instead of holding your hand out like palm up, she's telling you to put your hand out, palm down. She's like, if you accept.
What am I accepting?
Basically, if you accept this, you will basically have cohorts, if you will, of the entire Dragoon nation. Like they will become your allies. You will be able to call upon them basically as allies.
Fair enough. Fuck it. Slaps his hand out there.
She says, yep. And then she takes that thing and just like grabs you by the wrist with like a strength that you didn't think she you know what I mean? Like you're like, whoa, like she's strong. You know what I mean? Like it causes you to like instinctively like flinch and try to pull away for a second, but she holds you fast, you know, because you've accepted this now, and she, you know what I mean, and she intends to uphold her end of the deal. And she takes it and just sandwiches it against the backside of your hand there, and just like that. And you can smell your flesh sear and burn. And in your ears begin to ring, just like you've eaten way too much spicy food. You know, like when you eat really spicy food, it gives you an earache, and it just it's almost like it busted your eardrums. It's like that, only instead of like the bing, you can actually hear your dragon soul roaring in pain, as if this brand hurts him, is actually hurting him more than it's actually hurting you. But by proxy, it's actually hurting you because you are now truly one. This symbol now binds you both together. It is a seal, much like a scroll that takes a wax seal to it. That is the same thing that you're taking right now. You're taking this seal, this bond that combines the two of you now. Your mind and your body and your spirit are one. From here on out, you now know that no longer will you feel the dragon stir. If you stir, the dragon stirs. What you think, the dragon thinks. What you want, the dragon wants. You are now 100% in tune with each other. And even the sword itself that you have on your back, you feel its warmth, as if it approves, as if this was exactly what it was wanting in the first place. A true champion worthy of wielding its power.
Mm-hmm.
And once she releases the brand, you see this this charred flesh that has this symbol on it that looks like a dragon in the sun. The ultimate star for the ultimate creature, basically. And she says, there, now through you, the sun shall never set on our people ever again. Says, and when you need us, when that time finally comes, when you are ready for your retribution, you can call upon us. And we will be there.
Okay. I'll have to try to remember that.
She says, don't forget.
I plan on it.
She says, and one other thing. Find a way to free our mother. She's waiting for you. She knows one day you are coming.
One second. Oh! Open the fucking tab, you piece of shit.
It's like, oh, I gotta type this down. I gotta write this down. Write this down. Write this down.
And 3. What? What was her name again?
Tachesis.
I'm not even going to begin. Ask you how to spell it. So I'll just put the best value to spell it. We're not even fucking going there on that.
I think it's like Takihisis. Tachesis.
Yeah, again, we went with
No, we went with
my version.
We went with whatever I wanted.
Whatever sounded good to me.
Hmm.
I'll probably call it Talkie Talkie before it's all over. Alright. Fair enough.
Also, make a note, right? that. Well, now, you know what? Just hold off on that. Because there is some interesting things, and if I try to explain all that right now, we'll just get lost in it. You know what I mean? It's not going to be important right now. But it will be. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
But you might make a note now that you do have Dragoon as your cohorts, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so you remember that, but we'll go deeper into that and how that works later. But for right now, that's not going to really be relevant, you know?
All right.
And once that's all said and done, she says, well, do you have any other questions for me before we are done here?
Another time?
She says, fair enough. She says, I will always be here, and if you ever need guidance, that's what I do.
Bit of an info dump. Need to process.
She says, well, our time is short.
True. Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right.
The 2.5 hours of working on this road, I finally got it to work. I can't hear shit, so give me like 2 seconds.
All right.
It's got the ignorant loud music, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got a headache. It's mad loud. But yeah, he's just like, he's like, so I'm guessing I'm just like, welcome to swing through anytime now. Kind
She
of.
says, anytime. Anytime. If you can make the trip, you are welcome here at any time.
To be fair.
She says, you now have that symbol on your hand, and any who see that symbol will know. She says, however, these lands and our people, we do have, I know this has been somewhat informal, but we do have a etiquette that we follow. And even you will be expected to follow that etiquette. I imagine you've met other Dragoon here lately that, since you've been here, who have, she says, without a shadow of a doubt, at least one of them has said, you know, if this happens, you're expected to react this way, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, kind of keep myself in check.
Yes, this is not, yes, you do not have free reign to rob the kingdom, but you do have the right to be at the table.
I mean, to be fair.
She says, so learn our culture as best as you can. And even if you're not perfect at it, well, that symbol on your hand will give you some allowance. So,
Well, I guess that's all I can really ask for.
she goes, yes, again, you are rough around the edges, but you mean well.
He just smiles. He's like, yeah. He knows his own shortcomings. Like, he's arrogant, but he's not stupid. Yeah.
She says, I mean, what else could you ask for, Quill? Yesterday, you didn't have an entire kingdom at your beck and call, and a goddess waiting for you. I think you've made it out quite well.
Fair. Oh.
Says, I bet you didn't think that when that abyssal dragon touched you and told you that you were going to one day be the totem.
No, I had bigger fish on the fryer at the moment. But it sounded like a good proposition.
She says, ah, yes. The death.
Yeah.
She says, he hangs over you like a cloak, like a shadow. Even now, I can feel his presence.
He's taking a couple swings.
She says, he's never far away, and be wary of him. She says, again, we've traveled to your homeland before. We know We've been to all the homelands. We know of their gods and their customs, at least. And he's one of the more devious. Make no doubt about it. He knows of what has transpired here today. He will be consolidating power against you soon.
Cool kind of chuckles. I always like, oh, he's sent quite a bit powerful my way lately. We'll wait to see. He's like, yeah, he's on the checklist of people that need some attention.
Says, I just hope you make the right decision when you have to make those decisions.
I understand.
Says, well, I could just outright tell you what I think, but oftentimes I have found that when you try to ensure somebody doesn't do what you don't want them to do, that's exactly what they're going to do. You can push your lover into the arms of another by simply trying to shelter them from the world, can you not?
Hashtag facts.
She says it's no different. Destiny works no different. Destiny is a lover that is constantly in danger of falling into the hands of another. Says, well, good luck to you. When you step out, says, never mind. Ask my sons, Yin or Yang. Yeah, I'm sure you saw them when you came in. They were the two massive dragonkins standing on either side of me. If you're hungry or thirsty or anything, you can ask them to get you something and tell them I said to be polite. They're actually really sweet boys, but they're just suspicious with outsiders.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Says yes. She says, I granted they are a bit much, but I love them. You know, they're the only sons I have. And it's at that moment you realize that this woman is this dragonkin is the mother of these two massive, almost 9 feet tall freaking
Monsters, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. He's like, well, that ain't gonna be any good anymore. It's seen better days.
And you guys begin to go back into the main room of the temple.
All right.
Switching over. Hello?
Welcome back.
Did I lose you guys? Did I lose everyone?
No, we're still here.
Okay, cool.
Yo, shooting dice in the corner.
Right this second, but she's just getting like a tamale. She's sitting right back down.
Oh, when is Casita ever really with us? No.
Yeah.
When is Casita? Ooh, tamale, you said?
Bro, now I'm jelly.
Mm-hmm.
My man's inner Mexican came out when he heard tamale. He's like, wait, run it back. You said tamale?
Mm-hmm.
You better run something this way.
No.
It's only a 2-hour drive, motherfucker. Bring me some.
I'll be over there in about 45 minutes.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Vin, go get them for me and bring them down, bro.
So, Quill and Mazaru come back into the temple area where you guys have been waiting. And, holy crap. I might need to stop and get something to drink real quick, guys. I'll be right back. You know what I just realized? Hello? Anybody there?
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. I just realized that Cassid name dropped again.
What?
When you said that Android was on the phone.
Oh, man. My tamale got me all
All right, it's the tamale.
distracted.
It's the tamale.
I'm blaming it on the tamale.
Don't blame the tamale. The tamale did nothing to you.
Okay, sorry. Our sister called me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm playing D. She was like, oh, sorry, I don't know why I forgot that. It's not like you've only been playing it for 6 years.
Yeah. She's so funny. She ought to come and
Yeah.
play. I don't know why she don't. I don't know why she don't. Probably because with her schedule and stuff, you never know what could all of a sudden happen. Be like,
Right.
oh, excuse me. I know we're in the middle of this real heated exchange on this game and everything, but my kids just currently set my couch on fire, so I gotta go. You know?
Yeah.
Be like that sometimes.
It
Little
do.
boys for sure.
It sure do, don't it, Icy?
Yeah, their closet.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I plead the fifth.
So, okay, so as you Quill and Mazaru re-enter the temple, you see Quill and Mazaru just sits down and she says, everything that was discussed in there is for Quill and Quill to tell you alone. It is not my place. However, because he was willing to hold audience with me, I am willing to hold audience with you. I'm not all-knowing, but I do have some ability at divination. And I would be willing to help with anything and anyone and everyone who is curious at this point. If any of you have questions for me, because there's a few questions that I have for each of you that I can see. Because again, I do have some ability of divination. And I find you all very interesting. Indeed. She says, do any of you have any questions for me?
Okay, here's a player question real quick.
Yeah.
Did we establish that she knows our purpose here? Did we tell her? Because I forget. Did we tell them why we're here, seeking the element or whatever?
No, you told that to the Great Hair.
Okay.
But
I
the
couldn't
Great Hair
remember
was
if
the
we
only
told
one who
them.
actually knew that, yeah. The Great Hair is the only one that actually knows that.
Okay. Second question, because I realized I did not have this one written down. Is it the fire element or the air wind element that we're seeking here?
The wind element.
Okay. I suppose Android will...
You were told the wind element's name if you want to know it again. Just for
Okay,
your,
yeah.
just so you can
I
write
guess
it
I'll
down.
Write it down.
Yeah. You know. Just in case you're curious. Where is he? His name is Feng Tiatan. That's F-E-N-G. Feng Tiatan. T-A-I-T-A-N. I do that.
Okay. I guess Android's gonna kind of clear his throat and bow slightly, you know, like to be like, if it's okay, I'll speak now, sort of thing. And he'll just kind of be like, well, he's gonna kind of try and explain the situation, you know, but he's gonna do so in a manner that's like, at least his intention is to be like, well, we didn't do this on purpose, you know. He's gonna be like, just kind of
Yeah.
break down what's happened, you know, what we stumbled on, and how it just kind of was a responsibility that was dumped on us, and you know, we're here seeking this so that we can stabilize the material plane. You know, and he's gonna be like, well, do you know a way to meet with Fang Tiaten? You know, we were just kind of pointed in the direction. Do you know the path, or is there something that you can do, or something that you can tell us to assist us on this journey?
She says, well, he is somewhat of a volatile entity. She says, I mean, but when you are the master of storms, I suppose that, you know, you're as unpredictable as the weather itself. Says, however, I've never really known him to be just outright malicious. Says, I suppose. And she thinks about it, and she says, I suppose I could send my sons here, Yin and Yang, and she points to the two giant freaking, like, close to, like, 9 feet tall dragonkin, you know, the ones that were standing on either side of her when you guys first entered. She says, I suppose I could send my sons to parlay with him and see if he will meet with you, if he's willing to meet with you. When we do that, what should they tell him exactly? Should they tell him this whole debacle? Or should they just say that you wish to meet with him because you know... What would you prefer?
Android thinks for a moment, and he says, well, you seem to know more about this being than I do. Do you think it would be wiser for us to tell him our plight ourselves?
No, I don't. Not necessarily in its whole, in its entirety. I think it might be wiser maybe to just explain to him how you know his kind, that you've spoken with him. Maybe there's a way you can prove it to him, even that I could send with my sons to show him some sort of proof of a sort.
Android kind of hesitates for a moment, you know, and then he reaches into his bag of holding and pulls out the water of life and the philosopher's stone. He says, if I entrust these with you, or with them, then surely he would be willing to hear us out at the very least. He says, but they're dangerous, so please handle with caution, you know. And just kind of bows them forward.
She looks at her children. She says, "You hear that? Do not play with these items. They are extremely important. You are just to take it to him and show him, and then come back." And the one, he just sits there for a minute. I guess Yang, the red one, he just sits there for a minute and he's like, "But if we go, we might miss the Jingsu." And she looks at him and she's like, "Xinjiang." And he's just like, I'm sorry. She's like, you should be. You speak out of turn. She says, "I apologize for that. I don't normally use that kind of language." Yes, you can entrust those items to my sons. They will not be foolish enough to do anything but what they're told. And they each walk up and hold out a hand for you to just hand it to them.
And Android does so. He just places one in each of their hands, you know, and bows.
And then they punch you in the jaw. No. All right.
Nice.
So they take them and they're like, "Okay." And she says, Go now and get it done." And they bow and they you watch as these two massive, dragonkin just start walking out the door. Who have been humbled by their mother, who is like not even half their size. She says, "Well, now that we've got that out of the way, is there any way I can help anybody else? Anyone else?" She says, "Because I myself have questions that I'm wondering about."
Well, seeing, Android seeing nobody else has kind of like steps forward, he just kind of bows and says, "Then we will hear your questions."
She says, "Good." And she points to, she actually starts by pointing at Elsa. And she points at you, Elsa, and she says, "You're quite a fascinating one, aren't you?" She says, let me ask you," and she thinks and she goes, "Not to be impolite, but are you aware that your shadow is its own thing, or is that news to you? Or did you not know that your shadow is actually like a living being? And if such, are we in danger?"
Elsa just nods her head, like, "Yep, I know it's mine. I know. Don't worry about it.
She knows.
Mind your business."
She's like, "Interesting." She says, we of the Dragoon have traveled many places. Our people are capable of getting around to other lands and learning cultures and things of that nature. I one time had an expedition come back and talk to me about the oddest thing that they think they had ever seen in their life. And tell me if you know this story, because I get a certain sense from you.
Elsa yawns.
She says, they talked about a type of beast that roams those lands, and they don't have a name for it. They said it's like a wolf, but much bigger and much fouler. These creatures are known for pretty much trying to eat anything and everything they come across. And then one day they just happened to notice that there was a small child with them, an actual human, running amongst their midst. Do you know anything about that? Because... I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. She says, no, that's quite all right.
Let's see here. Give me 1 second. I gotta find a thing real quick. Elsa's gonna do a little howl and bring one of her work friends into the plane.
Do it again.
Nice.
So she just goes, "Oh," and this one appears right next to her.
Yeah, he just comes it's almost like he just comes out of nowhere. Just manifests into reality. The second he does that too, like some of the guards turn like they're ready to just attack, and she holds her.
Oh wait, hold up. Technically I gotta roll a d4 to see how many.
Oh, okay. Two.
2 of them, 1 on each side.
So when that happens, like I said, the guards act like they're ready to attack, instantly. But Mazaru, she holds her hands up and tells them, wait. She says, that's fascinating. She says, we were quite fascinated, and I actually researched into it. You are the fabled ward goddess, are you not?
It's I.
She says, but you look like you were no older than 12, maybe 16, but no, probably 12.
Yes.
She says, well, let me ask you something. How come my expedition made this report over 100 years ago?
It is what it is.
She says, indeed. Which leads me to believe one of two things. Either you don't even know, or you haven't been forthright with your companions here. Assuming that they didn't know this to begin with, and she looks at all of you, expecting to see, she's like, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. I don't know. And for the record, I'm not actually trying to even cause any kind of controversy as much as it's for my own curiosity that I heard your legend so long ago and am now meeting you, expecting to see an elder, and I'm only seeing that of a child. Are you aware of this?
I know of it. I do not know why, but I know of it.
She says, well, I could try and discern some of it for you if you'd like. If you would grant me such an honor. It's not every day that you meet a person of legend twice in the same day. 3 times if I'm correct about some of the other things that I think.
Indulge yourself, I guess.
So she looks at you for a moment and then closes her eyes and begins chanting. She's like, you know, she's like, and she stops and looks at you and she says, well, it's gonna sound funny, but all is as it should be. Says you don't age the same way as a normal human. It's almost like you're
Agreed.
stuck in a bubble. The aging process works on you very slowly, doesn't it? The reason why you can't remember that isn't because it was taken away from you. It's normal conditioning. Much like one can't remember when they were an infant, nor can you remember when you were an infant because you were an infant not but 100 years ago. Odd that. She goes, now
Interesting.
what exactly happened to you, that I cannot say. My powers are limited, unfortunately. But it's something to keep in mind there. And she says, what was your name?
It's Elsa.
She says, well, Elsa, that is something to keep in mind. For I imagine that's going to take you further into whatever road you are going down in life. Eventually, this will be a bridge you have to cross. For I have a feeling whatever did this to you is waiting to see exactly how it all turns out. Much like a farmer plants his crops and waters it and then leaves and waits to see what will grow, I have a feeling that one day whoever planted your seed will come for the harvest. Good or bad. And then you will have to decide on the kind of person you want to be. You don't have to be what they want you to. Remember that.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way. At least seasons 1 and 2. Hot F season 3. And I mean that with all disrespect.
Whoa.
You're on hot takes at 9.
You're at hot takes on 9. Jack Black should be ashamed of himself.
Nice.
Yeah. Huh. So then she turns and she looks at Zoltan next. She says, and what of you, Drow? She says, I'm well aware of your people. My people and your people have had many a dealings before. I'm surprised they didn't tell you what to expect when you came to the surface level.
What do you mean by that?
She says, well, again, we of the Dragoon have studied many of the different cultures of the world. We are well aware of the underworld and the drow. I'm just surprised that to see a drow here on the surface level. However, I am quite aware that you are not fully drow, which leads me to wonder a few things, but I feel like that would be prying in that sense. However, when you left the underworld, did they not tell you what would be atop here? Did they not speak of the Dragoon? We've had many dealings with them before. In fact...
No?
Ah, I see. Well, not to be rude, but you are male. And so they probably just didn't think that you needed to know. And again, I don't mean that with any disrespect. But I do know how your culture works. She says, you're quite an interesting character, aren't you?
One can say that.
Says that aura you have about you. That's coming from that. Whatever you have, whatever you're trying to hide there behind your shirt. She says, may I have a look at it? You have to understand, it's... She goes, She says, even without being able to use divination, just because of my natural abilities, it is almost like a homing beacon for me. It's literally calling out to me right now. And I'm just, it has since you first walked in through the door. It was just that, and she mentions to you, Quill, there was more important matters at hand, but now that I have a moment to discern things for myself, I would very much like to see what it is you're trying to hide there.
Zoltan, he hesitates for a moment, but he shows her.
She notices Zoltan's hesitation and she says, I'm sorry. Did the rest of your group not know that you had that? Did I reveal something that you were trying to keep hidden?
No, I'm pretty sure the rest of the group knows I have it.
Oh, and no. Play. I joke, I kid.
He's like, I've only just teleported a handful of times in front of him.
He did what? With who?
Took us with him a couple times.
She says, I see, and she looks at the hourglass that's embedded into your chest. And I'm gonna roll something for a moment.
Oh. Do I need to put a counter roll on? Do I need to roll?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
She's not sinister. She's just rolling to see if she notices something else. If it'll let me roll it for love of Pete.
Can she notice the tickiness of it? Because Zoltan has lost the sound of the noise. Zoltan doesn't know how to feel it.
Okay, well, she rolled a 22. Alright, so the second you reveal it and she gets to looking at it, her eyes dart around the room for a minute. It's like she looks at everybody in the group for like half a second. Her eyes don't linger, but it's like she's looking around the room, but her eyes fall on each and every single one of the party members. And then she says, I see. So you say this thing is capable of teleportation, this hourglass you have embedded in your chest.
Yes.
She says, may I touch it?
Yes.
When you say that, she stands up and her wings unfurl and she literally kind of glides from her spot down to you, down the steps, just down to you. And she holds out her palm and places it on your chest. And she sits there for a minute, like her eyes suddenly like snap shut and her head bows and she's like, oh. And then she starts doing her chant again. She's like, oh, no, so and when she lets go, all of a sudden you feel like the hourglass kind of bump against you, like kind of like a heartbeat, just. And then it begins ticking again, like you used to hear.
Oh no.
And it feels it feels like it's working like it used to. And she pulls back her hand and kind of holds it like it's hurt. And she says, it just needed a little bit of a boost. It wasn't working properly. And you could say fixed it. She says that is capable of more than teleportation. You know this, right?
I mean, I kind of thought about it, but no, just really haven't
She says,
happened, so I just thought.
oh, so you don't know what it is?
Not really, no.
She says, oh, interesting. And then she walks away from you and goes and sits back down. And then she looks to Agargus now. She does not bother to tell you what it is. She
What
just
a
says,
tease.
interesting. And she looks at Agargus now and she goes, and how about you, Mike in it? Yes, I know of your people as well. I am fully versed in all the denizens of the underworld. You guys are, after all, our downstairs neighbors. And she pats her foot on the ground. She says, now, what could possibly bring you into this group?
In what way? What do you mean?
She kind of smiles for a minute and she says, oh, okay, I see. Well, okay, let me find a different way of rephrasing this. What is holding you back from your purpose? You didn't just leave the underworld for no reason, did you?
All he says is just patience.
She says, interesting. She says, so, I guess my real question for you is, it isn't out of a sense of loyalty that may be developing over time that keeps you from fulfilling your destiny. But it's more just a matter of time and when.
Yeah, well.
Is that what it would be?
doesn't say anything, but you can tell that that kind of like struck a chord where he hasn't really thought about it, but he is like, man, these people have been good to me. So,
Yeah.
but he does not say anything. He just stays looking at her.
Also reaches over and pats her on the head.
She says, regardless, whether you choose to walk the path set before you by others or you choose to walk your own path, sooner or later, things will come to a head. There is such a thing as called a crossroads, and you will come to it eventually.
See you at the crossroads.
Yep, and when you get there, the rest of the group will be with you, so you won't be lonely. No, okay.
Nice. So you won't be lonely.
But no, for real though, she's like, you will come to that crossroads, Agaragis, and you will have to make that decision then. She says, but it is not for me to say which is right and which is wrong in this scenario. I can no more build that bridge that you need to cross that stream than tell you which bridge you should cross. For I feel no matter what, no matter which path you take, you will have to just make that decision and then live with it.
He just nods his head.
Because it's quite interesting that I should notice you after such a year. Just so you know, if I noticed you, that which you are seeking, if you understand what I'm talking about, it's aware of you too. Because it actually is sentient. It thinks, it knows, it's where it wants to be. Regardless of your presence or not. And then she looks at you, Android, and she says, now, how about you, flock of seagulls? No.
Nice.
She goes, you always sporting them pigtails or what? No.
Looking ass.
That's
Yeah.
It says, I shoot up everything but playgrounds.
Yeah, for real.
No, but she looks at you now, Android, and she says, and she points at the badge on your vest, you know, the one that everybody but I think Zoltan and Agaragis have right now, you know, but the badge of the Inglorious Few, and she says, tell me, did you steal that, or was that a gift?
What do you mean? He kind of thinks for a moment. He says, well, when you put it that way, actually, it was a gift from Corlon Lorethian.
She says, oh, I'm well aware of Corlon Lorethian. She says, I told you, we made an expedition to your lands long ago. She says, he was actually quite inviting to my people. They came back and told me many things of him, so much so that I myself personally made a trip to meet him. She's like, would you like to know what I thought of him?
Android kind of thinks, and he says, you would honor me, I suppose.
She says, he was pure magic.
Excellent.
She goes,
I know your response should be fabulous.
yeah,
That too.
yeah. She's like, in
Like
fact,
Freddie Mercury.
yeah. She goes, yeah. She goes, in fact, I learned quite a lot from him. He was older than me, if you can believe it. He had seen a lot of things, but I'm surprised you don't know his history as well. And she pulls out a deal of the she goes, well, no, before she does that, she says, have you not looked through your friend's book before? And she points at you, Quill.
He waves.
He says, which book?
She says, you
The big
have...
one.
He's never told you about the Pantheon before?
Android just kind of bows and he says, I have one as well.
She goes, really? She goes, that is interesting. 3 Pantheons in one place. And she produces her own. And she says, behold, the gift from Corlon Larethian himself. Much like he gave you his badge, he gave me this and said anything I wanted to really know would be here. She says, I, judging by your confusion, I take it hasn't revealed itself wholeheartedly to you either, has it?
He says, no, but in fairness, it has been a while since I've checked.
That is so funny.
Did the same thing.
And that's her reaction to it too. She just starts laughing. That's what she says. That is so funny. And she kind of giggles, like she drops this demeanor that she's had and she kind of giggles. She's like, well, I can see that he chose right. And she puts the book back and she says, you have a certain kind of connection to him, don't you?
He says, yes.
He calls him daddy.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly what I say. No, Android's like, yes, he chose me to be his saint.
She says, his saint? What is going on with him right now that he should need a saint? How is he?
Android just kind of, he looks a little confused for a moment and he says, oh, so then you haven't heard the good news.
Sorry, I know, that broke me.
So then you haven't heard the good news.
She's...
Well, then he tells her the whole story, you know, and from Coralon falling ill and us setting out on a quest to, you know, he gives her the whole thing,
Okay.
and in how it is the tale of his ascension to Mount Celestia, you know. And he says, and then they carved his name into Mount Celestia, and he was chosen to be seated amongst the gods, and I am the one that is to bring this message to others.
She says, so he has passed. And she looks rather sad. Says, well, at least there is some good news. You're right, there is some good news. He has ascended to. And then she looks at you again, Quill, and she says, guard that sword with your life, for the one who gave it to you is wiser than you could ever know. For he made a right decision that day. However, I can't help but feel the regret in my heart. I should have stayed. I should have never left him. And now I feel like yin and yang will never get to know their... And then she like catches herself and realizes what she's saying, and she goes, never mind, it doesn't matter.
Android's like, what the fuck? In his head, you know, he's like, what the fuck? You just get it, he does the you know, the blink.
Yeah.
It's like that clip off of it's like that skit off of I Think You Should Leave, when they're like, oh my gosh, did you see so-and-so's hat? Yeah, effing what the F is that? And the dude is in the freaking courtroom while it's going on, wearing the fedora with the flaps, and he's like, what the fuck? And then they read out more of it. They're like, blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, did you hear about what happened to so-and-so today? And he's like, what the hell? That's what that reminded me of, with you going, what the f... She's like,
Yeah.
anyway, he was a...
Because I almost made a joke about that earlier too, you know. I almost cracked a joke about it, but I was like, well, he's in the middle of talking, you know, and I don't want him to be like, well, to respond like, Android said that, and she just looks at you like, what? And I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what this is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's exactly what she thought, probably, then. Yeah, it's probably what you're thinking right now, yes. Because, yeah, Coralon, just be that cat. You know what I mean? You just be that cat.
Call him Felix.
She goes,
No.
she goes, but I want you to...
Another one? Another one, really?
She goes, it's important that you all understand one thing, because she could see you guys like, oh my gosh. She goes,
We're
it's...
like, don't tell Yoshi.
She's like, it's important that you understand one thing, though. If he had had his way, I would have been there. I was the one that chose to leave. Coralon cherished my company. He was I guess you could say if he had a weakness, people of the opposite persuasion probably were his. He was known for caring too much. But I have a responsibility and a duty here. So I came back. And as a result, I will always have reminders of our time together. Strange how that works. To be honest with you, yeah, I wouldn't have...
There's a very popular song that would get you demonetized right now. But just so you know, Uquil is currently singing it. And it goes something like, my...
Nice.
Or the radio edit version, my hitter.
Yeah, boom.
Nice.
Boom.
He said, my.
Yeah, I knew what it was too. Like, all you had to say was my, and I was like, doom,
motherfucker.
See, I ride for my... It's a shame that would get me demonetized too, because it's not like I'm the one saying it, you know. It's the song.
Right.
It's the song. And anybody who'd be listening to this right now, if we pop that off out of nowhere, they'd be like, yeah. In fact, I might just, you know what? I might just say F it and go balls to the wall and splice it in right here and be like, do something about it. Everybody who listened to this just now just stopped what they were doing and went, "That's right, that's that Coralon Larethian." And then we came back. Here we are.
Pretty much.
And then here we are. But yeah, she's like, so I trust his judgment, and I think that if he's given you and has chosen you to wear his symbol and spread his name, do it justice. Because I also see something else in you. She says, you have a certain smell about you that is that of cold brimstone. She says, you need not explain it to me. I won't pry. She says, but you... I will offer you this. I can shut that back if you'd like. I can shut that door if you'd like.
Android's eyes just kind of glaze over for a moment, you know? And he thinks, you know, and he kind of just gets this look on his face, you know, and he bows to her and he says, "Thank you. I fight for truth."
She says, well, I'm glad that's the decision you made. I think Coralon chose correctly with you. She says, well, that's all I have for my questioning. Now, I guess it would only be fair, now that we've done a little bit of digging, if any of you have any questions for me. She sits there for a moment, eyeballing all of you as you all seem to be in deep thought about the things you have learned today. She says, okay. Well.
Yukula, he does say his piece. He's sitting there like, doop doop doop.
Says, well then good. Then I suppose there's only one thing left to do, isn't there? And that is kill you all. No.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
She says, well then, I suppose it's time to get you to the capital city and to the Jingzhou, isn't it?
Oh, if it pleases.
She says, well, I feel like if we don't get there, there's going to be quite a few people who are going to be extremely disappointed, not just with you, but with me as well. She goes, and for the record, I call it the capital city so you may understand it, but if you want to be more accurate with our culture, you know, we don't call it the capital city. For the, you know, in our language, it would be known as Zhijingzhen, which just means, it roughly translated into your language would just mean the lost city. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yang Shishin. Is that what it was?
Zhijingzhen. And that's just actual gibberish. That doesn't really actually mean anything
Right.
in real life.
I just remember last session we kind of said something about it, and I was like, did I write that down?
Yeah.
And what I had wrote down was Yang Shishun.
Oh, yeah. Zishishin. Yeah. Means the lost city. She goes, because it's not actually lost, obviously, but it is the site, and she looks at you, Yuquil, where we lost something very special that day. And so we honor its memory. I shall take you all there now. And with that, she's just like, oh! She motions and few dragoon actually come stepping in, you know, with their long wings and everything, and they each of them, there is five of them, each with their own personal cart that they're holding. And the carts are these ones aren't like the ones you came in here in, right? These ones are these are like rickshaws that are set up to be as optimally comfortable as possible. Each of you have your own individual one to relax and stretch out in, you know, because they're not set up to where you have to sit up in them. They actually are elongated to where if you would like, you can lay down in them as well on these pillows and just kind of chill and relax whilst you are in flight. She says, we had those made up for you. I hope they are to your liking. She said, I myself will not be going with you right now. I must wait here and perhaps speak with my sons when they come back. Should they come back. Because
That's no option.
Feng Titan may not humor them. I may have lost 2 sons today. There is a strong possibility of that. But
Android looks just like, when she says that, he just gets this look on his face like he just like got a knife in his gut. Like, oh, I didn't realize all that. You know?
She looks at you, Android. She goes,
Oh.
Do not worry. Do not worry. If I seriously thought that were going to be the case, I would have thought of a different way. She goes, my sons are very resourceful. And they, despite their youth, they are actually quite wise beyond their years, just like their father. And she kind of gives you kind of like a half smile, like a knowing smile. Like, you know. You know
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean? She goes, so, please, let my people take you to Zishisheng. And I probably mispronounced that, but whatever. And I will see you tomorrow at the Jingzhu. She says, now, don't be alarmed, but when you get to the city, it's probably going to be full already, because most people don't wait till the actual day of the Jingzhu to begin. It's probably, the first crowds probably started arriving early this morning, and they're already getting down. So, don't feel alarmed. I will, if you'd like, I will send one of my personal, one of my pupils with you to, as sort of an escort, if you'd like.
Android just kind of looks at you, Quill. And he's like, what do you think?
He just kind of shrugs. He's like, I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt.
She goes, oh, splendid. She says, and then she just calls out, she's like, Wang Jingling! You are being summoned! And enters in this, like, dragonkin whose scales are like a brownish red, you know? And he wears like robes and everything. He's, you know, sort of an elemental character, as it were. He's young, but he looks sort of like an old soul. Like when she calls for him, he you know, approaches fast and wastes no time, but he doesn't, his hurriedness is not that of somebody who's like unlearned. He's there is a quickness to his movements, but they are honed. As he enters, he's just like, yes, shaman. She's like, you will escort these. What shall I call you? Your group, I mean.
Well, we typically go by the Inglorious Few.
And she just smiles and she says, that was Coralon Lorethian's idea, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
She says, yes, that's got him written all over it. He would take.
He just would call us, and it just kind of stuck. We liked it.
She says, yes, he was real good at finding the diamond in the rough. You will escort the Inglorious Few to Jijingling. And he just looks and he says, of course. He looks and he says, he says, hola, ¿cómo está? No.
Nice.
No. He
Buenas
says,
tardes, mijo.
yeah. He says,
Madre Nolita es muy buena.
he says, I'm Guang Jinling. I am a pupil shaman to our shaman, our grand shaman, Mao Zhaoru. It is my honor to be your guide through the Forgotten City. And he looks at you, Quill, and he says, oh, the totem. He says, oh. And he bows real low and he says, I did not know such importance. And he looks at Mazaru and he goes, I did not know that you thought so highly of me. And she's like, yes, just hurry this up. Hurry this up. They have much to do. He's like, oh, of course. If you need anything, I am at your disposal. I mean, anything. He says, shall we go? And he motions for everybody to get into the rickshaw. He even walks over to Agaragus and offers like his hand to help Agaragus like step into it so he can hoist Agaragus up into the rickshaw. And he says, come, let us go. And he waves his hands, and when he does that, like a little nimbus cloud forms underneath of his feet as he starts taking off, and the dragoon naturally start flapping after him as they're carrying the rickshaws, and you all begin flying towards the Forgotten City. And if you look at the Roll20, basically the Forgotten City is all the way at that on that map. It's all the way located. Let's see here. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. My Roll20 has been acting real slow here lately, and I don't really know why. But yeah. So you guys are here. Let me ping you if it'll ping. and you guys basically fly all the way down to here, to the Forgotten City. And that's basically where the Forgotten City is, but they don't take you deep into the city just yet. They take
Can
you...
ping it again? I didn't see it, sorry.
No, you're alright, Hero. I'll ping it where you are now. As soon as it drops it, lets me ping.
Okay.
Yeah. They take you to the palace of the Forgotten City, like directly to there. But as you guys are flying into the city, you realize that this city is massive, and you can see all kinds of stuff going on and beginning down there. There's already what looks like people who are drunk down there. You see Dragonkin, but you see a lot of other things that look odd at this distance, but you can't quite just make it out just yet. But it looks very interesting, the denizens of this land who have come here. And there's tons of people here. I mean, just tons. Already you can hear like fireworks popping off in the distance and things like that. Just, and you can see streamers being put up and just what sounds like tons of merriment already beginning down there. But you aren't taken there just yet. Like I said, you are taken to the palace of the Forgotten City, and you are led down here. And Guang Jingling, he comes flying down on his Nimbus cloud next to you all, just. And when it stops, it just kind of dissipates, and he just kind of touches the ground, and he says, "Welcome to the Forgotten City, honored guests. I will take you now to see the Shogun. Says, you are here by request of Mazaru, but also you are here to meet our forefathers as well. The Shogun cannot withhold this from you, so do not let him. And I tell you this now, because once we are in there, I won't be able to say a word. But do not let him intimidate you into walking away. He means well, but he is very... Oh, what is the word? What word? And he's like trying to search his like knowledge of like how to express it to you all. Leery of outsiders. Which sounds funny, I know, because his entire city's full of outsiders now. Ironic, isn't it?
Mm.
Says, please.
Outsiders from his land.
He says, quite wise of you to notice. Says, please, enter. As you guys enter, you see, the Dragoon in their full glory, right? There's all sorts of Dragoon. Every type of Dragoon is in this palace. Anywhere from the blue ones, blue crystalline ones, to the green, the like neonish green coal charcoal ones, to the nope, that's not what I'm trying to do. To the red and black ones. Whoa, okay. You gotta do it or what? Even like the goldish brown yellow ones are here. And they are just, and they're just hanging out too. Like they look like they're somewhat supposed to be guarding this place, but like they look probably the most relaxed that they possibly could be. Almost like they don't expect to be attacked directly here in the first place. But they are... they could fight at any moment should they need to as well. But they do... Nobody tries to hinder you as you all make your way into the main chamber where you enter in, and this chamber is a wide open area chamber with decked out with windows and tapestries. It's very airy, a lot of natural light, and in the to the very far back wall, there sits a pretty much like a stage with 15 steps leading down off of it. And at the top of those 15 steps sits the Shogun. And he is this, he's one of the brownish gold dragoon. He, he's quite large, and he's decked out in this ornamental armor with like spikes coming off of it, and his horns are, poking through like the mask that he wears on his face. And like I said, he's larger than your normal dragonkin even. Not as big as I would say like Yin and Yang, who are like 7, almost 9 feet tall, you know what I mean? But he's a big guy. Like you can tell that this dude is Shogun because he, you know, he's powerful. He's probably like their best warrior. He earned this right. And he sits atop of this stage with the 15 steps. And it's like every other step too. There's a line of candles. So like you have your first step, and then on your second step, on either side, there is like maybe like 5 or 6 candles on either side. And then so on and so forth. So every other step, so 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, all the way up, you have these candles. And the candles, they're lit. Even during the day, they remain lit. And the flames seem to just burn steady at this point. And you all enter, and Guang Jinling, he just stands there very silently and becomes extremely stiff, and steps out of your all's way as you begin to approach this Shogun.
Android is going to be walking slightly behind you, Quill. You know, like kind of trying to let you, Quill, take the lead, because he's like, they're probably going to be more receptive to this guy, you know.
Sure. Okay. So as you guys approach, he takes note of you, Quill, in the front, naturally, but also because of who you, Quill, is. It's almost like everybody can, all these dragonkin and dragoon can sense this on you, Quill. You know what I mean? It's like meeting one of your own, even though they look different, you know? He's just got that. He's got that aura, yeah. And the Shogun, he just, as you all approach, he holds up one singular hand that tells you all to stop. And he says, "What is this then? We have guests into the Forgotten City. Outsiders to our country, to our lands, to our homes. Tell me, outsiders, what business do you have in the Forgotten City?" And he looks directly at you, Quill, when he says it, because like Android said, he like kind of lets you take the lead, and plus, like, yeah, he just senses it on you, you know, like he knows. Everybody who meets you knows, you know what I mean? They know. So he's expecting the answer to come from you more than anybody.
Yeah. Equals like, well, we met some people. Get told to come here because you had some stuff going on that was going to be maybe potentially advantageous for us. And then some of your people found out and then basically told me to come say what's up. Yeah, that's Cliff Notes version. And evidently I got to be a part of this thing for reasons unbeknownst to me.
The Jingzhou.
Yeah, yeah.
They want you to be one of the honored Jingzhou. One of
I
the
believe
chosen.
that's what she said.
Who? Who said this?
Nee, Nang, Nang. What was her name? What was her name? He looks back at Andrew. They have such. I can't remember. They have such. You have such different names. No offense.
No, it was Nan. Ah, what was her name?
It started with an N, didn't it? I know it started with an N.
Yeah,
I know
it did start with an N. It was
and
Nani. Nani.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Nani.
Yeah. She was the first person I spoke to, and she said there was a sound, right? You remember the sound? It was after the sound she said the thing.
the calling.
Like, yeah, she said that I had been summoned, and she said she understood that I wouldn't understand, but I had to come here. I was like, okay, cool. Very nice lady. Very nice lady.
He breathes in deeply, and when he does, he's like. And when he does, like, you watch as the candles all flicker. Like, they don't flicker, like, they all, like, point in his direction as if, like, they're in danger of being snuffed out by his inhalation. And then he releases, and they kind of flicker for a moment, and then go steady again. And he goes, "The calling was for you." And he doesn't ask it. It's not like he's asking a question. It's more like he's stating the fact, like, you. They were calling you. ...
Quill.
He goes,
Quill's visibly straining himself not to smile. This motherfucker is sweating right now, trying to keep his emotions in check.
he, like, looks at your hand. He's, like, looking you up and down, and that's when he notices the symbol on your hand, and he goes, "And Mazaru, the shaman, she marked you? She gave you the symbol?"
Yeah.
He inhales again, and you watch as the candles, like, do the same thing, only the flames grow a little longer this time, almost being completely sucked in, and then he releases once more, and they kind of flicker again.
Yeah. Quill just kind of, like, side eyes Android, like, I don't think he has a breathing problem.
He says, "This cannot be right. Our forefathers would not call one such as you to be to be the one. You cannot be the one. It's got to be one of us. It's got to be one of us. One of us truly. There has been a mistake. I won't hear of it. You may leave. You and your group. There will be no honor chosen for you. We do not need your help with our plight. You will be fine. We will be fine without you. I assure you of that."
All due disrespect, I don't think so.
Oh, I love that.
Nice.
And when you say that, right? When you say that, the candles actually flicker. They kind of... And he looks... You notice that he visibly looks at the candles now. And then he kind of cocks his head to the side and he says, "Oh, really? You don't think so? Then tell me, outsider, What makes you think that you're so special that we require your assistance? You who are of such conventional stock.
You see, you told me to be a good boy, and you know you just provoked him. So we're gonna do it this way, since we're gonna play these games.
I didn't tell you to do anything. Mazarun told you.
Look, it's just
Mazarun
no.
You Quill's eyes, and he's like, "Oh, perhaps this was a bad choice." Oh no. Well, okay.
Let me look at stuff. There's not gonna be a fight, maybe.
You Quill commands respect. You gotta give him that.
Where is the? There it is. So. Let's see.
And while this is happening to you, you guys can hear like the sounds of the day before Jingzhou, like the partying is going on outside. Because like I said, this is a very open area, so you can hear people outside like having merriment and whatnot. You know, the firecrackers, kids laughing, all that. You know, it's kind of a peaceful place, but you know there is tension here.
Yuquil activates his presence aura. He pulls out his sword and just kind of looks it over, and not necessarily like in a threatening way, but like showing him the markings, but at the same time like admiring them himself based on the information that was given to him. So it's more of an admiration, like, huh, ain't that some shit? You know what I mean? Like he's kind of soaking it in for the first time while he's like flexing, you know? Kind of looks at that, you know, he kind of does the look over, makes sure he flashes it so he can see the symbol, and holds it off to the side and kind of like that fencer's pose when they're like, come get some, you know what I mean? Off to the side just a smidge.
Yeah.
And then he takes his shield, you know, and just kind of sets it off to his left side just a smidge and looks up and down at his armor.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of like lets a little wisp of his fire come out, you know, from one of his breath weapons, and he's just like,
yeah,
couldn't begin to, just here's the shit. I don't know what I think I could do to help you. I don't know. This just happened to be handed to me. Just, I didn't earn it. I didn't just speak to fucking gods. I don't know. Maybe you don't need my help. I show up and these motherfucking noises start happening and all your people go apeshit, and then they tell me stuff even I didn't realize. I don't know, maybe you don't need my help. But I'm just thinking. It's just a thought, buddy. Just a motherfucking thought. It wouldn't hurt, would
it? So you do all of that. Yeah, you do all of that. And the candles are like flickering, at this point. Like they're going towards you, going towards him, going towards you, going towards him, like they're just flickering because it's becoming apparent that the candles read emotion for some weird reason, and they're becoming tenser as the situation grows more tense. So do the flames on these candles. And the Shogun actually stands to his feet and he says, "You have the nerve to talk to me like that in my palace, in my kingdom. I, the Shogun of Zishengqing. Who do you think you are?" And he begins to yell, and then all of a sudden you guys hear it again. The loud, yeah! Yeah.
Looking ass.
And so much so that Elsa's two wargs that have been accompanying you guys like stop for a minute and they look kind of skitterish and they even howl a little bit. They're like, "Oh!" and they kind of yap at it. You know what I mean? And it's the strangest thing because you don't see wargs get skittish like this very often. You know, they're very bestial. You know, very feral, and even this kind of makes them kind of like, what the crap? You know, they kind of remind you of like small puppies for a split second there, and they're just kind of like looking around, and when that happens. The Shogun, he stops. And you see him like visibly kind of shiver. And then he sits back down and he says, I am Karaj, Shogun of the city of Zishishin of the Dragoon lands. Longzi Gudo. Welcome to our city. And he looks like whatever just happened just now. Like, remember the merriment I was telling you was going on outside? That is all completely stopped. There's like a deathly hush over the land for a minute. And he sits down almost like it almost looks like it's not so much like not necessarily anything you guys did, but almost like he's just been put in his place. And he looks very dejected. Like he's looking at you, Quill, and he looks very dejected, almost defeated.
Fair enough.
Says,
Quill just gives like a light bow. Just enough to show that he understands.
A light bow. Like I bow my eyebrows, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I see how you feel. Know who I is.
When you give the bow, though, he returns the bow. Because it's still all about the etiquette. So he returns the bow. Says, says,
Real though.
My retainer, Kotokai, will show you to your lodgings, and then you will be allowed to roam the city as you choose until you are summoned by the forefathers. And after he says that, he does that grunt and then like turns his head away from all of you and just bows it. And then approaching you is another one of those dragoon who is of the golden brownish scale nature. Approaches you all. He seems to be wearing kind of like a suit of some sort, almost like he looks more dapper. Like he looks almost like what you would expect somebody to look back in Siren, you know, like how they all dress real elegant and whatnot. He's kind of dressed in that same sort of fashion, only it's just a little bit more of a different style, you know. It's got a little bit of a different flair as he approaches you all, and he says, I am Kotokai. Welcome to our land.
Nice.
He says, I will show you to where you will be staying here in the palace. And then after that, you are welcome to experience the day before the Jingzhu and familiarize yourself with Xi Xingling. And with that, he takes you guys through the palace. It is a beautifully decorated palace. We're talking like jade pottery, different golden statuesque things. I mean, it's beautiful. Tapestries made out of the finest purple and crimson silks. Throw rugs, just runners that look like they could feed entire families back where you come from with their worth, you know? And he shows each of you to your own separate rooms. Each of you have your own separate rooms. Elsa, he, when he gets to your room, he notices the two wargs, and you see him visibly become uncomfortable. He's like, will, not to be offensive, but will the, dogs, question mark? Will the dogs be staying in the room with you as well, or should I take them out to the kennel?
Also just whistles and dismisses him.
They, when they do that too, like, because the wargs are like well aware of this dude, just to mess with him one last time, they go charging at him, like they kind of bound like they're gonna jump on him, and then they just kind of dissipate, and he's like, oh! He's like, oh. That is a talent that you have. That is a
Also
talent.
just does a little curtsy.
When you do that,
Nice.
he like raises an eyebrow and kind of half smiles, like, oh, and he does a deep bow. He's like, oh, very refined. He says, in fact, and because he notices like how tattered your dress is now, you know. He says, in fact, and he opens up the room door for you and motions for you to enter, and he says, Zhigzhang! Zhigzhang! And within a few minutes, like, just some regular little dragonkin come running up with like a dress in their hands, and it's of their style, like of their country style, but it's made out of like a fine, like beautifully like pink ornate silk, and it's got like royal purple like tassels attached to it, like on the necks and the arm line and stuff. And he's like, for the Jingzhu, to you would honor us. As he holds it out for you.
He reaches up and takes it.
He says, ah. And he steps back and shuts the door. And, leaving you all to kind of get settled in and everything. How does everybody settle in? Like, we'll just start at the top. You, Quill, how do you settle into your room?
Instantly opens the Pantheon. He's like, wait a fucking minute!
Yeah. You open up the Pantheon, and yeah, it does. It actually starts to reveal itself to you some more. Let me look into something here real quick, because I'm not going to be able to like lay it down. Like, you know, it will be something that I'll put in the lore section later, but I can give you the cliff notes for now.
Oh, I knew I was gonna make you dig in your notes on that one.
Oh yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Where is
Dude,
the
we're not gonna talk about the Pantheon 85 times and everybody all of a sudden this bitch got a book and it got more pages in it. Oh, hell no. Get me fucked up. Smokey.
Well, where is it though? I'm looking for it and I don't see it. Is that this one here? Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah. So you open it up and it goes to chapter 9. And what chapter 9 basically is kind of a recap of the rest of the Pantheon. In a strange sort of way, the events of chapter 9 touch slightly on all the other events of all the previous chapters. So, in a weird sort of way, you learn that the Pantheon isn't necessarily in chronological order. It's kind of chopped up. Not every story, it doesn't take place like one after the other. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of them are littler stories that take place during chapter 9's grander story. It goes back into talking about the first race, the Illumians, right? And from them bred the second two races, the second two oldest races, which were known as the Asimur and the Tiefling. And when you learn that the Asimur and the Tiefling are in all actuality the oldest races on Loxos, it somewhat irritates you, because you are fully aware of the Asimur and the Tiefling from your homeland. You know, they come from the country of Bukharai, and they are... the Tiefling cannot be trusted, and the Asimur are pious. You know what I mean? But both are just kind of like... And they have been warring with each other for centuries. And they are just, you know, and both of them really act like they're above everybody else, regardless. You know what I'm saying? They have been locked in a holy war for centuries, and it is just really irritating to find out that maybe there's some merit to their claims. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you learn about the war fought between the gods. The first gods. Pelor, and it talks about the three brothers. Pelor, Farhalon, and Zaris, you know? And you're by now you're fully aware of who these guys are, but you come to find out that Zaris and Pelor actually went to war with each other, and it lasted decades. And what really interests you is the fact that you learn about Tiamat, Zaris's daughter, that he summoned from the Beastlands in her dragon form. And her and the dragons waged war on all of the races of Loxos at that time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So much so, but Pelor managed to defeat Tiamat, managed to drive her back to the Inferno. But Tiamat helped Zaris become like this, become like a one-of-a-kind dragon, a devil dragon, you know? And then Pelor was forced to battle Zaris in that form, you know? And they ravaged the land so hard that rifts in reality began to break open, and the different realms started to open up to one another, and the Age of the Rift took place, right? And the world was forever changed after that. And so a lot of the races that exist in Loxos today aren't actually naturally born of Loxos. They come from other realms, but it's been so long that a lot of them have forgotten that, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, there's a it gets so bad that a stalemate takes place. Like, it almost seems like neither god can gain the advantage. And then the older races are created at the behest of the Illumians. The Illumians now start creating new races because the Illumians were capable of doing that, because they could use words to change reality, you know? And they start doing that, and they start creating these other races. But it's still, so then the ancient races, or the old races as they're known, are created. And we're talking about old races like the What's a good one? Well, I'll have to look them up because, like I said, I'm giving you the cliff notes. I have it written down somewhere else, but I'd have to look. You know what I mean? And I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, but Zarus still can't be defeated, right? His dragon armies are still too great. And then you come to realize something else. Verse 14 talks about an Aesimer by the name of Corlon Lorethian, who stepped forward and sacrificed his celestial blood so that he could help create a new race known as humans. And when he did that, it turned him into something new too. So through him, elves were first created. And from that piece that was taken out of him, humans were created from that. And because humans have proven to be the most diverse of all the races, the most ambitious, because their lifeline does not last as long as everybody else's, they proved to be that tipping point that helped Pelor finally overcome Zarus. And because humankind, along with the younger races that seem to spawn as a result of these different things being birthed and mixed, they ushered in a new age of time. And you read all of that, and you realize that the curse was for the dragons, that the dragons tried to help Zarus overthrow the world, and as such, they were destroyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when Mazaru told you it was only our chromatic brothers, we didn't actually take part in that. We didn't deserve that. You realize now that these dragon folk, these dragonkin, right? They're not a part of that same ordeal. So when she says that Tiamat struck down Takhisis, their mother, right? Because Tiamat's the mother of the chromatic dragons, right? Takhisis is the mother of the power dragons. Tiamat, when she says Tiamat struck down Takhisis out of jealousy, she really meant that. Tiamat was actually jealous of her sister, and because, you know, Tiamat had lost everything as a result of it, and so she struck down Takhisis and threw her into the sky. And then tried to destroy all of her children, but because of Cass, whoever Cass is, she was, you know what I'm saying? She was stopped. I will have a more comprehensive thing for everybody to look at later, but that's the cliff notes for now. Enjoy! Yeah, so you read all of that and you realize few things. You know what I mean? I think there's a few things that you come to realize. One, that there was an old race that you've never even heard of before, you know what I mean, called the Illumians, who apparently were the first race, right? Who were capable of creating because they could use the power of the word. And the first two races that they created were the Aesimer and the Tiefling. So those people, those people who are in a holy war in your country, you know, or in their country that's right next door to yours, you know, all that crap that they're talking about, how they're the greatest and they're the, you know what I mean? There is some merit to it, you know? Then you learn that, yeah, Pelor and Zarus actually fought, like, you know, the three gods that are known to be the greatest of all the gods, two of them tried to kill each other. And as a result, the dragons were destroyed as a result of it. And Corlon Lorethian is quite possibly one of the oldest people, or was one of the oldest people you guys had ever met. And you didn't even know it. Like now you have to, yeah, you have to think about
Father Coralon
yeah,
had many sons.
yeah.
And then sons.
You have to think about like all of what he has probably seen in his life, you know, all of what he had seen. So when Ajuas told you about, when I last saw him, last time I saw him was probably about 1,000 years ago, and you were like, excuse me, did you just say 1,000 years ago? That was like a drop in the bucket for him.
What a guy.
Yeah, he was there for this age. And this age is actually called the Age of Light and Darkness. This war took place during the Age of Light and Darkness. 3 ages actually take place as a result of this. There is the Age of Light and Darkness. There is the Age of the Rift. And then right after it, the Age of Discovery began. When the humans had finally helped defeat the humans and the other young races, like elves and dwarves and halflings and gnomes and things like that. Those races, after they helped finish that war, the War of Light and Darkness, the Age of Discovery began. So basically chapter 9 covers 3 ages and or 2 ages in the beginning of one. And in the middle of all that, you realize, Quill, like I said, that the rest of the Pantheon, a lot of this stuff that happens in the rest of the Pantheon takes place during this age. Yeah. And, we're going down the list. Kassid, how does Agaragus settle into their room?
Okay.
No, like, how does he just like get ready to go to sleep, or?
Just what does he do? Yeah, like he doesn't have to go to sleep. It's not even nighttime yet. You know what I mean? Like, just what does he do? Like he goes into the room. What does he do? Like, you know.
Can I guess meditate?
Sure. What does Agaragus meditate on?
Oh. Well, now that's the bigger question.
Well, is it something that you feel like? Is it something you feel like you can actually tell us, or is it going to be one of those secretive things that like only you and I really know and needs to be revealed to the party at a later time? If you tell me that, then I'll know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not going to force you to just up and tell me what, you know what I mean?
Okay.
No, you tell me now. I don't care if it ruins your character arc. I want to know.
I mean, I can't, I guess, tell you no.
No.
But yeah,
He's meditating on pretty much what Mazaru was talking to them about.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. May I ask one thing? Okay.
No.
No. All right, let me rephrase that. Let me explain by saying that was a rhetorical question.
Good answer.
That was a rhetorical question. All right. I'm going to ask a question, and you're going to answer. How's that? How's that work for you?
Also, no.
Also, no. Yeah, no. No. So, I guess you don't have to go into too much detail, but did that affect them in a profound way? Or is it something they're just kind of shrugging off, like, no, I'm not going to listen to all that?
Well, it kind of was profound because it was something that he hadn't thought too much about. He was just like, he's just learning the whole like area and the new people and everything. I think he just wasn't thinking that far ahead yet.
Is it like one of those things where it's like they're now searching their feelings? Like they hadn't really considered doing that before?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good way to put it.
Okay. Well, I would like to say that's all me, but that actually
No homo,
the search your feelings comes from Star Wars. The good Star Wars, the sequel trilogy can jump off a cliff. The sequel trilogy is just a fever dream in Luke Skywalker's mind. Hashtag that's canon. That's canon. It's just a fever dream in Luke Skywalker's mind.
Oh, here with the hot takes again.
Nice.
Zoltan!
Up next on Cancel 2023.
Castle 2023. Zoltan. How does Zoltan settle into their room?
He's gone.
He's gone. He's totally gone. Well, no, he took himself off mute, so.
He goes in there and beats his meat.
Slapped the ham like an hour ago.
That better not be the ham I bought for supper. Zoltan, are you awake? Did you fall asleep, buddy? Did Zoltan fall asleep? Oh no, he's having trouble talking. Yeah, he's coming back.
Man.
There you are. You having some trouble with your audio there?
Yeah.
So how does Zoltan settle into their room?
He's sitting there thinking about the hourglass now. Once more.
I hate that Bob Barker.
Nice. Hey, you know the Mista lady? I think I just killed her.
Yeah. I'm gonna go as far as also to saying, because we haven't done it yet, and I told you like a week ago or 2 weeks ago that we were gonna do this. So I am also gonna say that Zoltan is taking a moment to actually truly rest and prepare some spells, and begin to actually really finally prepare his spells, since he now really truly has a moment to just kind of sprawl out. In fact, when you guys walk into his room, you just find him there with like his clothes just completely open. His dog is just flapping in the wind. He's like, "What's going on, guys?" No. What are you guys doing?
Gray white. We're like, why is it dead? Why does it look like a fish? Why does it look like fish meat? That's weird, dude.
Yeah, so Zoltan is doing that, and he's contemplating this news that he's found about the hourglass, that it is much more than what he thought. That it is something special, perhaps. Android. How does Android settle into his room?
Well, I guess Android will crack open his own pantheon as well. After, the conversation he had. He kind of like you, Quill, is going to be like, well, fair enough, I should open it.
I'm going to say that he discovers the same thing.
I kind of figured.
Yeah, that it is the same thing. Like the Pantheon wants you both to know. Something I didn't mention with you, Quill, that I feel like I should mention now that I forgot to mention. This explains why there is such a thing as the Dark Ages. Why so much history got lost. Because when Zaris and Pelor really began to get after it, they did change the world. And what I mean by that is you come to understand at that moment that the land masses used to look extremely different. Like what you would know, like you've looked at a map of the world before, or at least the known world, right? It used to look extremely different. When it says that the age of the rift happened, you know, that wasn't just a rift in reality. That was a rift in the world. You see what I'm saying? Henceforth why the continent is called Brokine. It's a play on words. It's broken. It was shattered and torn away, you know? The world has been, the land masses have been broken to pieces. So, just something to keep in mind, that that's what happened there. And as a result of something like that happening, you could call it a cataclysm if you like, but as a result of that happening, a lot of history was lost there, because who's really left to remember it? Except maybe Corlan Larethian, and he never really gave you any information on that, did he? But I guess for you, Android, when you come to that realization that Corlan Larethian was there for the beginning, or at least maybe not the very beginning of creation, because you guys have opened up the chapter of creation, chapter 1, you know what I mean? Where it talks about how everything was created. You don't believe Corlan Larethian was there for that, you know? But he came around during the Age of Light and Darkness, and so that makes him profoundly old, you know? Or it did.
Toward the beginning, at least.
Yeah. During a very chaotic time in the world's history, yes. You know? You could say, and I don't know if this is gonna tick anybody off or not, but you could say that this is I know it won't tick anybody in this group off, but just like a listener or something, because they may not, but whatever, just humor me here. You could say that the Age of Light and Darkness is like Loxos' version of the Flood.
I see.
You know what I mean? So that is you know, and Corlan Larethian was there for it. And so now you have a whole new perspective on who Corlan Larethian is. Maybe you so more than anybody else, you know? But, I mean, that may not be a fair statement to say. Because I know at least you, Quill, had a lot of dealings with him as well. You know?
Right.
So, yeah. You discover all of that as well. And you realize, holy crap. Like, you know, it all almost ended before it even began.
Right.
And, yeah.
Well, after reading that, Android's gonna rest up as well. Just kind of think about what he's learned.
I will say this, and it's just something I don't expect you all to take it to heart, but you guys have met the creator before, right?
Yes.
So the thought could be presented here. The creator created all this, but yet he's only mentioned, as far as you have read so far, he's only been mentioned once, and that was in the very beginning when he created everything, you know?
Right.
So, like, you know, what, you know, what's the deal with that? You know what I mean? It's just something that, it's some food for thought, since you guys said that you're thinking on what you've learned, you know what I mean? I'll give you that as food for thought. Take it for what it's worth, but only you can do something with it. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I really can't give you more than that. You know what I mean? Without it being either too meta or me controlling your character. And I won't do either. So, if you die, you die. No. Yeah.
He dies. Look at that.
If he dies, he dies. Elsa! How does Elsa settle into her room?
She She just goes and finds something to curl up on, just chills out. She's like, well, I'm done for the day. Screw all that. Too much talking.
Too much talking, not enough walking. Speaking of which, yep, this is where we're gonna have to call it for tonight, y'all. Yep. But next session, next session, you guys have made it to the Jingzhou, or where it's gonna happen at. So, yeah, you know what? Elsa nailed it right on the head. There was a lot of talking in this session, but sometimes these sessions just work out that way, you know? I was wanting to get a little bit further, but it's already getting late, you know? So, I'm just gonna have to save some of what I had planned for next session. So, I know there was a lot of info dumping. I hope you all still had a good time. I know I did. I always have fun info dumping on people.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
I love me a good old-fashioned info dump.
We always knew you like a tough smut.
Yep, but yeah, let's do our outro or whatever. Let's do our ending here. Let's do this like we're professionals, or you know, something.
Bye. Have a nice time.
Bye.
Bye. What about time?
I want to thank them old school gamers, AGTX the Dragons, Cassid69, Icy Hot _ 2305, Ness, and Unit 620. I want to thank you all for stopping by and playing some D&D with me. I want to thank the viewers and listeners at home. Thank you all. You guys are a blessing, and I love you all so much. And if I get you feeling a type of way, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If that tickle your fancy and everything, go ahead and sign the guest book below in the comment section. And yeah, I love everybody. I love y'all, and y'all come back now. Stay golden.
PK fire, bitches.
He did not PK fuck. Get the fuck out of here.